you go. And then you can have video too. All right. So, slip this out of the way though.
Thank you.
Oh, shit. All right. Go back. So, the thing I've got is like, okay, Rails has got better. So basically, a lot of the stuff you get in Rails 8 now, you can basically build your whole app and get to point number 3 without having to spend like weeks installing a bunch of crap, like, setting up servers and, setting up Postgres and all the rest. So it's actually got much better in that way. But some of the stuff makes it a little bit nervous. Like, I could use SQLite. That would be super cool. That'll come out of the box and it'll be set up right away. And I'm like, how do I do backups? Is there config for that? It's like, no, you figure that out. I'm like, I have figured that out before. I used to run on bare metal and run my own backup scripts. And if you've ever done a 15-hour DR, like, disaster recovery, and like one of the people in that company, they had their eye vessels burst in their eyes because they were that stressed about the shit situation. Because if it didn't work, the whole company was toast and everyone had to get a new job on Monday. I don't want to do that again. So SQLite, no thanks. I'll use Postgres and I'm going to put it in AWS because I actually like AWS. So, I like that when I do an upgrade in AWS RDS, I can just use a drop down and it'll help me with that and I won't have to have shit go wrong. I like that I can have, Redis clustering and I don't have to think about it. I've done this before. I've done, all the manual stuff. Like, I know the cost. And, am I happy to pay, $80 a month for a decent RDS box? Yeah. Obviously at Basecamp, they've got different problems. They've got a lot more money, a lot more customers, a lot bigger database. But yeah, at this point, I've got a little box and that's fine. And I don't have to think about it too much. And if I want to upgrade, it's not a disaster potentially. Or, it's Amazon's disaster and it's pretty unlikely. I'm not going to upgrade as quick as everyone else. So probably be fine because someone else will, any sharp edges will be hit by somebody else before me. Hopefully their QA team. So the other title for this talk, potentially, is holy shit, this IDE thing is incredible. I'll try my best not to get distracted, but let me just gush about it for a bit and aside. So along the way, gratuitous AI image. I used Cursor. So back in the olden days before I started this company and app, I was using just ChatGPT, right? I'm like, hey, ChatGPT, I want some code that does this. It's like, here you go, champ. And I copy and paste it back into my IDE. Yay.
You can minimize the toolbar if you want.
How do I do that?
You just click on that.
Yeah. Cool.
And you can also close the toolbar from on top. Awesome.
Hang on. What? How come that doesn't work? Oh, you've wrecked my computer, Simran. All right.
There you go.
Yeah. So along the way here, I also committed to using AI as much as I possibly could. So I used Cursor. That was really great. And now I use Windsurf, which I think is amazing. And so I've just been getting giant wins on that. And like, if there's a time at the end for Lightning Talks, I can sort of demo through that. We can fix some bugs together or like build some features. It's incredible. Like, who here is using Windsurf? Cursor? Okay. Who's still copying, pasting from ChatGPT? Champions. All right. Yeah. Let's not. I feel like it's going to be like in 2011 where everyone sort of would just come and like gush about their new JavaScript framework. Like every time there's going to be like an AI gush. Yeah, that's under the covers. That's what Windsurf's using anyway. But yeah, this thing, yeah, like it's really good. And like the better the AI integration, yeah. Yeah, so we can get to that. But yeah, basically the bit where this one actually will like, hey, do you want me to generate this command to run a migration? Hey, you want to do this in Rails? Like I can just say to it, I've got an empty folder. I want to build a Rails app. It's like, hey, how about we run Rails new? I'm like, hey, how about Postgres? It's like, yeah, here's the command to do that. And so along the way, using Rails 8, because I didn't know Rails 8, and I couldn't be bothered reading the documentation. So I'm just like, you know who knows this? AI does. And so I just like we'll go through it later on, but like Action Cable, I'm like, hey, I heard Action Cable does this. Please go and do it. And it goes, here you go. I'm like, holy shit. It didn't work, but eventually got there. Like, so that's apparently me. That's like the if I'm casted in a movie. Hopefully I look that good. So first cab off the rank, Kamal, because this was like the first one. I'm like, okay. Back in the olden days, I used to run Capistrano, and I quite like Capistrano. It's a good boy. And it does a simple thing, and it works, and I kind of understand it. And along the way, so like, okay, it used to be Maersk, and it was Kamal, and it was Kamal 2. Very important distinction. We're on Kamal 2 now. And it kind of just does the job. So you basically, it's got a bunch of stuff to, initialize your server, set up the databases, and just deploy. And it uses Docker for containers. So it basically packages up your app and posts it to some sort of container repository thing. And then off you go, you're running your app. And probably the nicest thing, which, is one of those things that, in the olden days, you had to grow your own. Like I've got a bunch of alias scripts for doing this, the Kamal commands. So you got your app deployed to like a little, a box somewhere, and you go Kamal console. And all of a sudden you're in the Rails production console. Nice. You go Kamal logs, and then you like tailing logs. I'm like, that's rather nice. You go Kamal deploy, and it goes and deploys to production in one command. I'm like, this is really nice. Because I had all these commands, like sure, it took me, over the years, a few tweaks here and there, but half an hour to set this sort of shit up, getting Capistrano going. So yeah, all this stuff out of the box. Out of the box-ish. So I fucked this up and it burnt like 4 hours of my day. So who spotted the difference? Because I was like, this doesn't work. What the hell? They've been selling me snake oil, the bastards. And then 4 hours of me getting like this doesn't give you a good error message. This just confuses the shit out of you. It's like, we don't know what's going on. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And AI goes, I know what's going wrong. It doesn't at all. So the other thing, it's all in Kamal. Like a lot of the stuff that's been indexed in the LLM, like when you're asking ChatGPT or whatever, it's all done for Maersk or for Kamal 1. So you get a bunch of like, here's how you fix that in Kamal. I'm like, okay, that doesn't work. It's like, oh, I don't know. How about this? And just like, if you've done AI stuff, you just know that once it's wrong, it basically stays wrong until you do something magical.
Yeah.
And it just gave me wrong shit over and over and over again for this. And eventually I just sort of like twigged that it was using the word architecture showed up. I'm like, oh my God, there's a typo. And then we got there. But yeah, very important. Don't fuck that up. It actually makes me a little bit sad about things. Like so much of this stuff has been indexed in the AI that like new stuff that comes out, which isn't in the AI, is going to really struggle. Like I get that it like scrapes the crap out of pages now, but I worry that like it's going to be really hard to release new stuff now because everyone's going to rely on like vast amounts of code being already written in the AI. Yeah. So that's Kamal. Any questions on Kamal before I move on? I was deploying to ARM because it's cheaper. So, yeah, like Gravitron stuff is like 30% cheaper in Amazon. Yeah, we migrated the old app we used to have, Gleam, the drink sponsors. We migrated all that stuff from Intel stuff to ARM stuff, and it was like just cheaper and very little difference because like all the developers had moved several years before to like the Apple Silicon architecture. So in the early days, we had to use like all the sort of like emulators and stuff to basically run all the gems. That's no longer the case. Everyone's basically made shit work on the new chips like M1s. And so when we moved to the actual production app across, everything was basically fine. So yeah, just hop on ARM, it's cheaper. We're on RDS, doesn't matter. In fact, we did actually upgrade OpenSearch, RDS, and Redis Open Cache. And all of them just moved to Gravitron without any issue, basically. So magic. Like here's the thing. Along the way, I decided not to do anything crazy with our Postgres. I wasn't using any like really weird features or anything like that. So I was very conservative in my choices, and that made it a lot easier. I wasn't doing anything super weird. All right, Kamal done. Cool. All right, the other one. Okay, so I built this, and then someone else built this, and we built this about 5 different times in my old company. And basically a rich text editor, like a WYSIWYG editor. Remember them? I still remember them. They're in your app now. I think what are we using now? Yeah, there's 100 names. Anyway, so this has been in Rails since actually in Rails 6, but it was new to me, so it's in my talk, and I found it really interesting. At the moment, it's a very simple editor, and I'll demo it in a sec. But like in Rails 8.1, it lets you use Markdown because Markdown is awesome. Like it gives you so much formatting and stuff. It's incredible. I was actually like considering holding back releasing my app until that came out because like Markdown is just so much better than the formatting options you get in Action Text out of the box. So basically, Action Text out of the box looks like this. And you can like upload files and stuff, but like you can't do headings, you can't do tables, like it's just not as good. And I've had to actually restyle this box to look more like Tailwind. It actually looks like really clunky, like out of the box, it looks like an iframe. But it does like file attachments and stuff like that, so it's pretty rad. But yeah, certainly like Markdown editors, like this feels like an old piece of kit. So yeah, we'll get to that. One of the weird things about it, is that one of my other actual systems, like similar to backing up my database, I don't want to like lose all my files that people have uploaded because I accidentally deleted them. Like I can just put them in an S3 bucket, add versioning, and off we go. They're very hard to lose. So, if I'm building like a commercial app that I'm going to be basically living on going forward, I don't want to fuck things up one time and then just be toast. So part of the cost of me deciding to use S3 instead of just storing them in the image that Kamal sets up is that I had to do a whole bunch of permission stuff, and the AI is kind of rubbish at helping with that. Better than me reading the docs, but still kind of rubbishy. And so what would happen is I would upload an image and it would go up, and then because there's like background jobs that would sort of set up permissions for that thing and do a bunch of like processing, when I actually like updated this using Action Cable, it would be too quick and the image would break. And so I had to write a bunch of annoying code that I didn't want to open Spotify, sorry. Where's my JavaScript file for this? I think it was lost. Oh, wait, wrong repository. Yeah, rich text controller, which, all right, this bit is fine. Making links open in a new window, sure, whatever. That's just a decision you can make. But like this stuff here, where I basically have to go through all the images and then like constantly check to see if they've actually loaded, because maybe the loading is just too quick when Action Cable is just too fast for loading the thing, where like it's waiting for the post-processing in Rails to happen. Like that sucks. And so that's like one of the things, like I could do it all out of the Rails box, but it just feels like, going forward, I'm going to have to, make this thing not so janky. And to make it not janky, I had to do a bunch of manual stuff to make this nice. One of the things about building a bug bounty platform is that people raise security bugs very quickly. So one of the things that happens with these uploaded files which go to active storage is that, where would you say? Yeah, so you've basically, it goes through Rails. So you got the image, and then the image is referenced by Rails, which has like this signing process, right? So if you link an image on, say, like, if you're in my app and you've got, people have uploaded these images, right? They will be basically firing off a request that will go to the Rails app and say, hey, give me a signed good request to access this S3 image. And so it'll basically proxy that through, and that's all good. The problem is that takes quite a bit of time, and it's not cacheable. So if you want these images to like load in like, chung chung chung, kind of slow and shitty, that's what you get out of the box in Rails, which is great. It means you don't have to do anything, but it means it's a little bit janky. Like people load this page of programs and it's just kind of clunky. And so what happened there? All right, who's solved this problem? All right, how did you solve it? Hmm. Don't understand that. So
You just rendering in some control the quality.
yep.
We had just generation.
Oh, so it would generate like cacheable URLs.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's that.
Yeah. Okay. And they would. Okay. Yeah. So. Yeah, all right. Yeah. Similar thing. So I basically made it so I basically just front, Cloudflare's image processing to basically go through and just use what's effectively a public URL for that S3 bucket. But then I had to open up that S3 bucket, so then it could be proxied by Cloudflare. And then somebody raised it on my own platform saying, hey, you've got a security bug where you can actually upload HTML files and then they are accessible on your S3 bucket and it renders as HTML. I'm like, ah. And so off we went and then wrote some policy docs to make S3 stop doing that. And I'm like, this is a really weird journey I've gone on. Maybe I should have just not done this at all. But I didn't like the jankiness of the loading. Maybe I could have gone with your solution.
Yeah, that solution probably. So, some of the don't have security.
Hmm.
So if you know the ID of the image,
Yeah. Mine has that effectively that vulnerability, but the images, because of the way they upload, is like, it's a hard to guess URL that, if you know the URL, you can access it publicly without any authentication, but the only way you would get that link is because you're authenticated. So it's a trade-off. So that's where I ended up. And that was just a bit of a weird journey where like John wants to do it this way. And Rails is like, we're gonna not help you with that at all. And so yeah, it was a bit of a weird journey to go down that path. Anyway.
What was the timeout thing? Like, you have to wait for it to be available.
Yeah, it was just 404. So it was like, oh, we're not ready yet. I wasn't sure it was a 404 or 403. It was like a couple of months ago since I wrote this. But yeah, basically the image just wouldn't be ready. So Rails would sort of link to it and it would just like which one was it? So this was done, using action text like stuff inside that rich text there, and also the icons as well. But, they have to be really quick to beat the icons. But yeah, basically, yeah, there seems to be like I can see the background jobs going where it does some sort of post-processing, and for some reason, like I don't know if that also does like the ACL to allow people to access the S3 object, or it just wasn't ready for some reason. Like I never quite understood.
Yeah, there's a few things that goes on there. They do also like thoughts.
Yeah. So yeah, like if anyone knows the actual answer to that, but I was like, this shit doesn't load yet. Okay, I need to do this thing. So yeah, whatever magic happens underneath the hood, the image just wasn't ready, and so it just errored. And so I wrote this error handler to basically just keep on trying to load it until it actually works. And that's worked fine, but a little bit janky, a little bit more work than I expected. Onwards. So solid cache instead of Redis. So rather than having to install Redis, it pretty much creates a secondary database for caching, which, for the most part, is probably good enough. Doesn't work super well with solid cable, I found out, where, you sort of maintain this, ongoing connection to your app, and then it uses the cache to sort of, send through like all these, ongoing requests. So that was a bit of a surprise. There's a bit of a gotcha there. But that's another one of those things where I like Redis. And I'll pay Amazon $10 a month to have a Redis cluster. I was paying Amazon like $80 a month for their serverless option. That just seems a way to cost more money. It was like, give me the lowest specs. It's like, yeah, $80 a month. I'm like, huh. Give me a non-serverless one. I was like $10 a month. I'm like, cool. So yeah, because I wanted to have that for like, session. Like I wanted to use Sidekick basically, which is, down there. So basically I really love Sidekick and I like it a lot more than Active Job or anything like that. And I'm willing to sort of work for that. So this is, as I said, John going against the Rails grain because I like things to be a certain way. I don't pay for the Sidekick Enterprise or anything like that, but I just really like it and the interface is really good and I understand it. So solid cable was really nice. In the olden days, remember you had to do like all the Ajax stuff or, single page apps where you basically, you know, this person comments on this page, it needs to show up here. So you kind of need to like either do polling or like you have to hand roll all your like, your ongoing requests. Now solid cable is actually, and there's been other talks about this. I'm not going to waste my time on it. But basically, it just maintains a connection. And then you can say when something, when you update this record, update this content for everybody. And so the everybody thing is a bit of a trap. We'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, it works quite well. And so what happens with this stuff, all these different solid things, they end up with more databases. So I was quite surprised building my Rails 8 app where I'm like, how come I've got like this database doesn't exist? Like, what? I know my database exists. So I know you've got many of them now. And I'm like, huh, that's a surprise. And then honestly, I don't think I've actually deleted them after I stopped using them. But anyway, that's fine. Then there's this thing called PropShaft. I'm like, I didn't even know. Like I basically just expected this is just how Rails does things now. I didn't know that it was no longer sprockets and we're using a thing called PropShaft. And kind of a Rails 7 thing, but sort of moved into Rails 8. And so like sprockets is gone and all your dependencies are kind of simpler and nicer and not quite so magic. And the no build philosophy, which I didn't list in my philosophies, that was from Rails 7. So yeah, the actual building of JavaScript stuff doesn't require all the NPM and stuff, which is an ongoing battle I had similar to my discussion about my CLI options for Rails. Like, what am I doing here? And I was looking at all these JavaScript or these front end frameworks, Tailwind UI and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, this is all in React. Like, do I want to use React? If I use React and I have to use npm, then I have a node modules file, then I have a build. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm going against the Rails way so much already. I really don't want to basically make this an npm app as well on the way. And so I fought against that, and I basically just ran with Tailwind and just said, I just won't use React. I'm just going to do it the Rails way in this instance, because I don't like React and I don't really like npm. So in this instance, I'm going to do it the Rails way. To hell with it. So that's actually been really great. I've actually quite liked it. Which is where this file should be. We'll go back. So I've been using Hotwire the whole way. Oh, sorry.
Just one comment. I also use like Sherwood. It's fantastic. The only limitation I found with Sherwood is engines. It's not yet compatible with it yet.
Okay.
It's only
Yeah. Okay. What's the trade-off you're doing there if you don't have engines? Like this hasn't come up for me. Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I guess, well, at my old company, we had a single page app that we built. It took about 7 years for that project to finish. So don't do that. Like maybe make an SPA, but don't take 7 years. So I decided not to do that. So I actually have in my app, like there's no modals at all. It's just you want to do a thing, you've got a page for that. And this, I haven't regretted it so far. Nice and simple. So I like Hotwire. It's good. And AI mostly gets it because there's been quite a few changes in the last few years. Like Rails has been in a bit of a state of flux. And so things like data delete for confirmation of deletes is now turbo delete or turbo confirm or whatever. So like subtle things. And bloody even Tailwind, as much as I love it, I'm like, I'm not using, like I was saying, give me some code for this. Like, here you go, champ. I'm like, that's React code. Like, have we not spoken about this? Like, we're not using React. It's like, oh, here's your code. I'm like, no, we're not on Rails 7 anymore. We're on Rails 8. This has changed. And so a lot of the old index content where it just seems to forget that you're on Rails 8 and it seems to forget that you're not using React and seems to forget that you wrote some code yesterday on how you style buttons and it goes, oh no, we just do a new button. Like, so as much as the new button works because Tailwind is like very isolated, it's really annoying that it just ignores you. And then you say, just do it like this one. And it goes, okay, and then doesn't. So AI is fun. Yeah, we can have a separate talk about or rant about that. So what's interesting with the authentication thing? So when I said before that you update this record, everyone gets this update. The problem is if you say, if the person's logged in the everyone update, it just throws a big warden error. So a quick demo of this. So in my app, you have like, let's just say a bug, right? Test report. And so I've got these things here. And if I add something here, this is using, all the new, action cable and all the JavaScript stuff. So hello, and it goes there. And it appears straight away. And if I have multiple tabs, it appears in both of them. Like that's kind of neat. But I've got a header in that page. I'll just bring this up. Show here. Actually, no, it's the wrong one. Show in reports. And so I've got this header, and I actually commented out the code. Where's the header info? And I actually commented this out because it broke. So I've got the edit button here. So this, I'm basically I added this thing here, this little edit button here, right? So if I change this, so I'll just revert it to explain what's going on. So if I change here and I go, change this to be open, and a comment. Oh shit. When I said it works, all right, it doesn't work. I must have broken it. But yeah, basically, it's a bit weird. All right, there's a bug to fix later. Let's just say if the current user's there, I don't want to actually use the policy. If you have that, and I'm not sure if this is actually going to change it, let's add something there. Oh no, Warden says no. So what's happened there? I've added a commit, and then it says, oh, if you update the report, you need to let everybody know. And so the everybody know, it generates a snippet and sends it to everybody. But when it gets to that snippet, it renders it and says, oh, is the user logged in? It's like, there's nobody logged in. This is the everybody snippet. And then it goes kaboom. And so this was a real surprise for me. I'm like fundamentally it makes sense. I'm like, okay, everyone subscribes to this thing and they get updates for this record, and those updates are generic, so you can't use auth. And I think this is better that they give you an error instead of just like pretending there's no user or like accepting there's no user. Like this is handy, but very surprising when I just like add a little if to my header and then boom. So that was annoying. Questions on Hotwire? Okay. Apparently there's auth. I didn't I didn't realize until after the fact. When I was reading the release notes like a few days ago, I'm like, huh, they released a competitor to Devise. And I feel like I've done the hard work with Devise to learn it enough that I was just like, it's fine. And then I sort of looked at the feature set today. I'm like, would I have used the Rails 8 auth stuff if I had known it existed? And the answer is no, because I like to get email confirmation for free and password reset and single sign-on. Like if I want to log in with Google, OmniAuth in Devise just handles that. It's fine. And so maybe it'll get more feature complete over time, but I don't want to have to like, if I'm building a security platform, they're going to piss and moan at me about two-factor authentication, all this sort of stuff. I'm going to have like, session lockouts, which they don't have in the Rails auth. So a whole bunch of features that I know I'm going to want. I'm just going to go with Devise for now. So you could use it like in that slider before I had like, if you're basically building like an amateur football scheduling app, you can just use their auth and, you can manage the 7 users and it'll be fine. You don't have to go completely bananas with like login flows because you know all 7 users. So yeah, the auth stuff, interesting. This thing called Thruster. Didn't even know. Apparently, Kamal set that up for me. Basically, its own kind of like pseudo Nginx running on the Docker container. I'm like, oh, cool, I guess. I'm like, oh yeah. It's funny because I was looking at this in the release notes as well. I'm like, up until I was like doing this talk, I didn't actually know. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I didn't set up Nginx, and I used to have to do that. Good work. It does like SSL termination, all the rest. It's pretty cool. If anyone is actually like the dev for this stuff and like they just like sweat blood and tears for 3 years, I'm like, I don't know, something. Like, sorry, but yeah, like this is a compliment because it just worked out of the box and was just like, oh, fabulous. Didn't have to do that. Didn't even notice. Nice. As far as load balancing goes, like you still have to use, like I'm going to use AWS, AWS is one, or maybe Cloudflare, but yeah. But yeah, apparently there's this thing called Trafic. Anyone use that for load balancing in Kamal? All right. Sorry? Caddy? Caddy does a similar thing, load balancing across. All right, fabulous.
Traffic, Kamal 1.
Oh, okay. Okay, well. Okay. Huh.
Kamal 1.
Okay. All right. Well, good to know. Thanks, Game. And yeah, going through those notes, there's just a ton of little convenience things, all the rest, like a bunch of stuff that, people would love and has been nice. So it's been really good. And that's the talk, actually. Been a journey, hasn't it? So I guess the thing, I have no idea what time I've used. If I've been like at this for 2 hours, just let me know. But yeah, like I've got a bunch of shit I just talk about all day. But they could probably be lightning talks if anyone's interested. But yeah, basically I generated all my RSpec stuff with AI. That was fun. You'd be like, John, it would have generated bad tests. I'm like, oh, I probably would have written bad tests anyway. So it was fast. Use the new secret stuff because I rolled that myself back in the day. Rubocop out of the box now. I'm like, huh, when did I put Rubocop in? I didn't. Rails did. GitHub Actions. I'm like, huh, it's running actions in my app. That's kind of neat.
Is that Rubocop a standard update version?
So I'm a bit of a weird person where if it just happens like that, I'm like, okay, that's just how I do things now. Like I'm just like, okay, sure. Like, I'll just go with you guys on this. You seem like you know what you're doing. All right, fine. I guess I'll put semicolons there now. Well, so yeah, Terraform. This is stuff I just like and used to. So using Terraform to set up the servers, using Ansible to initialize the servers. Yeah, they're kind of neat. I can talk about them if you like, but probably separate lightning talk.
What issue with the solid cable?
So,
Is it solid cable issue with the water?
so here, like, I actually have solved it a little bit. So this edit button, if we look at this, and this pisses me off. There's a class somewhere in here, that says basically, I think it's at the top level, like basically says which user it is, and only that user can edit their comment. So you basically have like a class at the top, and then you basically add, which user can like modify the comment, and then you have like, the user up the top in the header, or sorry, in the body of the page. And so it's really hacky, and I hate it. But I don't think there is a way to solve this fundamentally. Like, if anyone knows how to solve that weird warden issue with like,
Someone talks about creating
like okay, so I was there with old mate OpenAI for like 2 days on this, trying to figure this shit out, and it just and use oh sorry, actually no, it was Cursor, because remember it was writing the code for me too, and it just writes more wrong code for days on end, and I'm just tearing my hair out. It's like, and every time it's like, if you ask a person, hey, do you know how to do this? They're like, sure, I don't know. OpenAI is like, I see the problem now, sir. And you're like, no, you fucking don't, and you just go around in circles for days.
Change it so that your casting contains just the change. That's the sort of thing. But anytime you've got a current user, sort of can style test, nothing.
Yeah, so there one other option is to basically you set up the broadcast channels like, comment 1, 2, 3, right? And if someone edits comment 1, 2, 3, it sends out the broadcast to everybody. And what you can have is like a broadcast like comment 1, 2, 3 user blah blah blah. But then you're basically just broadcasting to one user, and you have to basically iterate through every user just in case it exists. Like, it just doesn't work on scale. So yeah, there's some kind of grubby solutions like.
Get out of record, which is your broadcast and page refresh.
Like, and you're like, what?
So you like it.
No, like, I like it's cheap.
When you get to the point where like I can't fix this now.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I didn't use can. I used Pundit, and it's really nice. Like a little. I'll just show you quickly. Policy. Yeah, it's just got little policy docs here. Index, create, and it kind of just infers a lot of the stuff in your controllers. It's just kind of magic. Like, yeah, it's a gem. Yeah. So like in here, authorize. So authorize show. Actually, I don't need that because it infers that. That's actually a bug or mistake. But yeah, basically you just run authorize in certain places, and it goes, oh, your controller action is called show. So I need the show question mark method. And you can just authorize programs. There's like a whole bunch of scope shit. I really like can. Sorry, I really like Pundit. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I just use this one. I'm like, it's the first one I'm using. I'm like, oh, this is quite good. I like this. So yeah, that's the game. That's the whole lot. Unless you got any questions.
Why nobody uses the default testing framework for counting Rails? Is there an worse spec? Why is this terrible? Why everybody hates it, and why it's still counting with Rails?
Yeah, like convention over configuration. Like, I don't know, like did the HF have like a fight with someone in the first days of like, I just don't understand. Like, everyone gets rid of it and uses RSpec because it's better. And like in my AI writing of RSpec, I just go, just convert it. And it's like, sure. And just converted all my like, I didn't actually do unit tests with that framework, but I just wrote system tests. And it just converted them with no problem at all. And I just have no idea why Rails team is holding out against getting rid of just weird, what is it, mini test or whatever. Yeah. So I don't know. Do you have a question or? Awesome. All right, cool.